fuck
know?
New Year's resolutions. It's a bunch of bullshit anyway. People
Yeah,
stop
that's
doing
an
it
easy
like
way
a
for people to
week
fall
into
off.
it. Yeah.
That's just an easy
So
way for people to fall off.
and it's an easy way to get into a bad habit that's even harder to kick before, because like it's like, let's say you're trying to lose weight and it's before New Year's, right? And it's like in September you're like, all right, for my New Year's resolution, what I'm gonna do this year is gonna cut down on my eating, and it's like, okay, well you still got the fattest fucking holiday ever, Thanksgiving, and then the second fattest holiday, Christmas, to go through. And
Yeah.
the entire time you're probably going, well, I'll just stop eating after this. I'm going to go hard because I'm not going to be eating after this. And then it's just like you develop all these bad fucking habits, so much to the point that it comes time and now you're back to square one because you're now fighting off bad habits you created yourself. So it's just, in the lead up for it to be a New Year's resolution rather than doing it whenever the fuck you want like a real person does, But yeah, man. Well, I mean, we're up to an hour and a half here. You still good to keep going? Because I got a few more things I want to ask you about as far
Yeah,
as that
go
goes.
ahead. What's up?
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. So I've been telling people beforehand too that I'm going to be doing a podcast special about like amendments and stuff like that. That I'm going to be talking about the First Amendment and how that kind of plays into everyday life. But as far as you're in the Marines. Well, you were in the Marines. You are a Marine. I never remember how to fucking say it, But you're a Marine, right? You're ex-military. Let's just say that, right? So you're ex-military.
Prior service.
Prior service, and I mean, if there's anybody who has less rights than anybody, try being owned by the government, which you were for what, 5 years? 6 years, 7 years,
4.5,
something like that.
4.5.
4.5
Well,
years. Yeah,
technically
4.5
8.
years.
Yeah, because I still get phone calls now telling me to update my Marine Online. Right, my contract ends in December.
Yes, yeah, So, but like that essentially being owned and having somebody to somebody higher rank, whether or not that person is qualified for that job, underqualified, or whatever, they still get to tell you what the fuck to do. So you essentially had less rights than like a regular civilian as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some perks to it. I mean, there's people who are like super patriotic and maybe they'll give you like a fucking seat on a plane or whatever. But for the most part, you're dealing everyday life with a situation where you're owned by something and your body's owned by something and stuff like that. And even if you wanted to speak out, you can't because it would break your contract.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so like with the First Amendment, the reason why I like it so much is I think it gives people the most power because it allows you to speak out against, assuming you're a regular civilian, it's like you get the most power from that amendment, I believe, just because it's got everything that's within your rights all said and done. And then if you don't like something, you have the right to be able to protest it. And so, and I think a lot of what people do is they'll pick certain amendments that they personally, I mean, not amendments, but they'll pick little pieces about the amendment out. Like the libertarian guy who's running in Virginia, like he's like, I'm a big fan of the First Amendment, and that's the freedom of religion. And it's like, yeah, that's part of it for sure. Don't fucking, don't get me wrong. That is part of it, but it's not the only fucking part, dude. You can't just like, do you know the First Amendment? Like the full First Amendment as far as that goes? Because I had to look it up and read it. I hadn't read the full amendment.
The First Amendment is
third
the
grade.
first part of the First Amendment is the freedom of religion, and then speech, and then the press. But I don't think, I mean, they're in chronological order that way in the amendment, but it's not a like this is free, and then this is free, and then this is free.
Well, so here's the fucked up part about it, because I mean, arguably, if you had to call America what's the prime religion in America, would you say?
Catholicism.
Christianity. Yeah, Catholicism, Christianity, whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
So dig this, dude. Like I said, I hadn't read it since fucking third grade. And I remember back in third grade, it was my fucking favorite amendment. But so this is a full amendment. It's the First Amendment guarantees freedoms concerning religion, expression, assembly, and the right to petition. It forbids Congress from both promoting one religion over others and also restricting an individual's religious practices. It guarantees freedom of expression by prohibiting Congress from restricting the press on the rights of individuals to speak freely. It also guarantees the right of the citizens to assemble peaceably and to petition their government. So, like, right there, it's like, whenever you hear politicians just being like, I'm a God-fearing Christian man and freedom of religion is important to me, it's like, yeah, it is, douchebag, but you can't fucking have that as your platform for shit.
What do you mean he can't? Like, that's his First Amendment right. His First Amendment right is the freedom of speech.
Shit, but it's okay, but it forbids Congress from both promoting one religion over the others and also restricting an individual's religious practices. I'm not saying the guy can't go out and talk about his religious things on his own time, but when it comes to fucking talking about it in a government setting, it's like, don't shit where you eat. Like, that's where it's fucked up as far as that goes, you know? It's like,
well, here's my thing. That's all for a vote. Okay. He probably doesn't even practice. You know, I guarantee you don't see him out at church on Sundays. If you do, it's because he's volunteering for something. But the moral of the story is they are appealing to a voter. If America, if the United States of America was a predominantly Hindu religious country,
nation,
then then you would see people saying that they believe in the Hindi way, and they would step their platform up that way. It's not that they're pushing it on anybody. They're just appealing to a certain person.
Right, but what they're doing is essentially shitting where they... It's like religion is like the steroids of fucking politics right there. It's a grab bag of bullshit that they use to, like you said, garner votes. And it's okay to be religious as a politician, but it shouldn't be the forefront of a conversation. Like, how many times have you heard in like debates and shit was, I'm a God-fearing man, so I know about this, and I get it's pandering. Don't get me wrong. I understand what you're saying. But that should almost be like a disqualification thing. And I'm not talking about just Christians. I'm talking about any religion.
Yeah,
if somebody came out, like you said, and was like, I'm a Hindu and I believe in Hindu values, that's not going to make me want to vote for you because of your Hindu values. You know, you're now breaking that part as far as that goes. But what I was trying to say is like, with the First Amendment, I mean, everybody's got the freedom to do whatever. You know, like I don't like Nazis. I don't like anything like that. I don't like anybody who's going to put another like race or religion or anything like that down. But when they want to protest, it's okay if they want to protest. Like, that's the thing. It's okay if they protest as long as they're not infringing on other people's rights. You know, or inciting violence. That's the other thing. You can't incite violence. So, I mean, they added a little extra shit in there just so people weren't going to be able to go in and fucking be like, my religion. And, I mean, it says it in the Constitution anyway. You're not supposed to promote one religion over another in Congress, while it is. But, like, you know, you're not allowed to tell somebody they can't practice a religion a certain way, although that's been leewayed a little bit as far as that goes. Like, if you got a religion that sacrifices an animal, you can't sacrifice animals anymore. You got to come up with some other shit. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says you have to sacrifice a lamb on the Seder, but and that's not true. I'm fucking just spitballing here, but you have to sacrifice a lamb on the Seder, but people are not okay with that nowadays, so you can't do that. It's like
well, there's agency. I mean, that's all part of that's all part of humanity coming around, you know what I mean? Like you were talking about earlier with the community back in the day, how it was a smaller community and everybody was there for one another. Now it's not a small community. There's no small community. And in those small communities back then, there were people that did weird things, you know? And today there's people that do weird things that even if they're part of a small group, that group is larger than any group was back then. And so it's visible on social media. It's visible on like any social platform, it's well known amongst anybody if they are doing something that, sacrifice an animal, or like in China, eating dogs and things of that nature. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
that's Korea. That's Korea,
and China too. China too.
Oh, I haven't looked that up, but I'll have to.
Yeah, you don't need to look it up. Just watch that Facebook video the other day about they just pulled a dog off the street and skinned it and ate it right there in a Chinese market, and it was China.
Oh, I mean that's like their chickens over there. I guess it's just a bunch of random dogs. But where do these dogs come from? That's always like
they're all stray. They're not allowed to have pets.
Yeah, they're all stray.
Over there,
but
like
how did they become stray?
Because
they
don't have pet animal. They don't have pet dogs. Like a dog is not a domesticated animal over there.
These dogs,
dude.
Yeah, with the
where
dogs
did wolves
roaming
come
in
from?
packs and they're fucking.
Where did wolves come from?
From the wild.
Yeah,
from the wild. But
that's all they are is wild dogs
walking down the street.
That's all they are is wild dogs. Well, it is.
Yeah, but they're dogs that hang out near people. Like that's the more fucked up part. So like somebody must be bringing them in from overseas or something like that. Like you said, not allowed to have pets or whatever. Yeah,
it's not that they're not allowed to have them. They just don't domesticate dogs over there. It's not a part of their culture. Not a part of anything they do.
But if they're wild dogs, they would be in the wild, not in a society. Like wild animals don't just come hang out in.
What are you saying, that you don't see raccoons? Have you ever been to the Philippines? Ever seen the Philippines when you're walking down the street in the market and the monkeys are stealing things from bags? Like they're not domesticated monkeys; they're wild monkeys that are amongst humans.
I guess you get a point.
China is 3.7 billion people strong, or something like that. Like, get out of town, dude. Of course, there's going to be dogs all around.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I guess it's probably like 1.5 billion.
Yeah, that makes more sense now. Yeah, I guess you're right. Raccoons, didn't really think that one through. Like that,
rats,
and monkeys.
Rats
are
wild.
I'm looking at it like, yeah, but I mean, they're fucking leeches essentially. They're just eating off of fucking other societies, which I guess the stray dogs are doing. But
exactly,
that was my whole point. Is they're like, I mean, it's just. They're basically eating raccoons, essentially. That's what dogs are over there, just raccoons, essentially. So,
yeah.
No, I mean, fuck. How do we get on
your amendments?
Oh yeah, the amendments. Yeah, we bridged far away from that, but I mean, it's like a freedom of speech thing, and like obviously they had to amend some different things, and freedom of religion. You're supposed to be able to practice. You can't like be like, oh, you can't. Although. Like, I was listening to a book the other day, the Black Rednecks, White Liberals, and he was talking about the Marymounts, which is a Marymount University over here. And the Marymount people, I believe it's the Marymounts, they were a Catholicism-based Christianity group, but, I mean, they would fuck all the time. Like, multiple people. There was no, like, shame involved in it. But the other Catholics, like... that were more hardcore stricken to it. Like this is back in like this, I think it was the 1600s. They found out about the Marymounts fucking so much that they actually showed up with like torches and pitchforks and was like, listen, you got to cut this shit out or else we're going to have to, take care of you. So it's like, ugh, fuck. So, yeah, I mean, but so like First Amendment rights and stuff like that, like how do you feel about that as far as that goes, being in the military, and like what's your idea? Do you feel like everybody should be able to just do whatever the fuck they want as far as that goes, just as long as they're not hurting anybody? Like I guess the best example I would have is like the Westboro Baptist Church who protest military funerals.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. It's
you don't care,
if that makes you feel good, then cool. I mean, everybody knows you're an idiot. And everybody sees right through you other than your own congregation. But you should also expect some backlash. You know what I mean? Like you can't do something like that. You can't kneel during a national anthem and not expect backlash. Should you kneel during an anthem? Go ahead. If that's what got national attention, Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed and all those guys kneeling. Cool, go ahead. I mean, that's why I was in the military. I was in the military to fight for the right to
party
of everybody, you know what I mean? Like that's what you do. Like, and while you're in the military, you sacrifice your your constitutional rights. You don't have the Constitution does not